guys, this is Leah from Blood and Sweat Athletics. I'm taking over Black Doctor's Facebook page once again, and today I'm going to talk to you about push-ups. I know. Push-ups are not very exciting, and I like to call this the middle child of all exercises. Especially for women. We don't really do push-ups, we neglect them sometimes because it's not a glamour muscle for us. But push-ups are a very effective exercise to do to build strength and muscle in your chest. And if that's not enough to convince you, it's a multi-muscle exercise. So we're not only working our chest, we're working our core, your shoulders, your arms, and your back. So let's get right to it. I'm going to start with a standard push-up and show you how to do the exercise correctly. You're going to start in a plank position and make sure your body is perfectly aligned. Hands are slightly wider than shoulder width, and then you come down and push back up. Just like that. Come down and back up. For ladies or for people who can't really do push-ups, you can do them on your knees. Same thing, keep your back aligned, then you come down and back up, down and up. The next one I want to go over is a tricep push-up. These you're going to do with your hands closer together, and this works your tricep. Hands directly under your shoulders. Make sure you keep your elbows as close to your side as possible. Then you come down and back up. Again. Once again, you can do them on your knees too, make it a little bit easier. Come down. Nice and easy, just like that. Now this last one is my favorite kind of push-up. It's fun, it's quirky. This works your shoulder. It's called a dive bomber push-up. To do dive bombers, you're going to be in a V position. Hands out in front of you. Then you come down, swooping your chest down to the floor. Come up. Back up again. Again, that one works your shoulders really good. Now, again, push-ups are really good for building strength. Ladies, I would shoot for trying to get at least 15. Men, try to do at least 20. There you have it. Happy building. Good afternoon, BlackDoctor.org Facebook family. I'm Sandria Washington for BlackDoctor.org, and today for our lunchtime chat, we are going to talk about pregnancy challenges for Black women over the age of 30. So, of course, this is a topic that affects a growing number of us as we wait later to have children, or for whatever different circumstances, we may be having children a little bit later. So hopefully you are tuning in. Tell your girlfriends to tune in, because this is definitely an important topic to address. Joining us today, we have one half of the dynamic duo, Twin Doctors TV, the better half, Dr. Right, I said it, so it's official. Dr. Idris, I asked him before, I'm like, I want to make sure I say this correctly. Dr. Idris Abdul Rahman. I got to roll it. And we have Tafer Hamed, which I don't know if you can tell or not, but she is glowing, she is expecting, and so she will be sharing her pregnancy story. I know it doesn't look like she's over 30, but she is. So,
31, right?
Right. Right. 30. So we'll jump right into it. One of the major challenges that we don't really hear a lot about is preterm birth, preterm labor. And it hit me this morning, preemies. We give it this really cute name, like, oh, preemie. It sounds very it sounds like something you almost want, very non-threatening, but it's actually very serious.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, preterm birth is any time you deliver your baby before 37 weeks. Okay? The closer you are to 37 weeks or to 36 weeks, 35 weeks, for the most part, the baby's going to be all right. They may spend a little time in the nursery, you know, feeding issues or staying warm issues, thermoregulation, but for the most part, they'd be fine, you know. But when we get more and more preterm, so 32 weeks, 30 weeks, 28 weeks, 26 weeks, the problems become more and more. Roughly at 23, 24 weeks, a baby can theoretically survive, but even then, you're talking about 50-50, okay? Once you hit 28 weeks, the majority survive, about 90%, but still they survive with some short-term and potential long-term issues. So preterm labor is a huge problem, and about 30% of pregnancies are affected, so it's not a small issue. So yeah, it's big.
Now what's the time frame of a normal full-term pregnancy?
A normal full-term pregnancy, your due date is 40 weeks.
40 weeks.
But you are considered full-term if you hit 37 weeks. Now, it's what they call early term, so we're not going to stop labor if you go into labor at this point, but ideally we want you to get to 39 weeks. So 39 weeks or above is ideal, but 37 weeks is considered term.
And I've read that Black women have increased risk for preterm births.
We do, and we don't really know why. I mean, a lot of preterm labor and preterm birth, we don't know why it happens. But there are some situations where we know. One of the big ones is infection, okay? Could be sexually transmitted infections, gonorrhea, chlamydia, things like that. But it can also be things like yeast infections, bacterial vaginosis. And they've actually done studies that show that African American women do have higher rates of bacterial vaginosis. So it could be infection. It can also be an issue of care. We tend to have less access to care. And if you're not getting appropriate care, both before pregnancy and during pregnancy, you have a higher risk of preterm labor as well. So we do definitely have a higher rate than majority populations.
So now Tafair, I know you have some experience with this.
Yep.
We've actually featured Tafair's story as a My Story on the blackdoctor.org website earlier this year, but if you could refresh our readers, our viewers.
Sure. Yep. Again, my name is Tafair. I was pregnant with twins, identical twins, and they were rare. They were monoamniotic twins, so which means they shared the same placenta. So they were very high risk anyhow. So they had a 50-50 chance. I went into preterm labor at around 19, 20 weeks. I delivered them exactly at 20 weeks. So obviously they did not survive. And I didn't really know too much about preterm labor, you know, going into it. So when they said that I was dilated, I didn't really know I was in trouble. And, you know, so for future pregnancies, as I'm pregnant now, you know, a lot of preterm labor can happen with multiples, correct?
Absolutely.
So, you know, they said it's an increased risk for preterm labor because you have multiples, and it may not necessarily happen with a singleton. And so I still wanted to take that extra step to protect my child and not have to go through that whole miscarriage thing again in the second trimester. So I took the step to reach out to my doctor and said, what are my options? And I opted for a cerclage, which is a stitch that I got around 15 or 16 weeks. I think a lot of women get around that time. So it keeps you pretty much sealed up until about 37 weeks. And I actually started taking progesterone shots as well. There's a couple of different options that you can get. They have them in the hospital where the nurse can administer it to you, which is called Makena. And then there's some off-brand that you can get actually delivered to your home. And so my husband administers them to me weekly. So as you can see, I am 9 months pregnant.
Right. Few weeks.
Yes,
Coming.
and I have a very big baby. He's already 6 pounds, 9 ounces. They're guesstimating, so he could be actually 7 pounds, or he could actually be 5 pounds right now. So, you know, he'll probably deliver at about, if I go full term, 8 to 9.5 pounds.
Yeah.
So, again, I know a lot of friends of mine who had preterm labor issues with twins, and one woman actually had it with twins and with her singleton. And I just didn't want that. And so a lot of, you know, it was controversial in actually getting that cerclage and getting the progesterone, but I just wanted to take all of the preventative measures to make sure that I would never have to go through, as much as I could control it, whatever's in my control, let me take that option. And obviously I felt like prayer helped, family support, less stress, but I continued to walk. I continued my daily activities with a cerclage. And again, it's been successful. So your cervical length is something that they check around 20 weeks. And they really didn't check mine because after you get a cerclage, they really don't want to check you as much. But once they did check me about 2 months ago, my cervical length had tripled in length. So I was really at like a 2 before pregnancy, I'm sorry. And I was at a 6. So
And the higher the number,
it's
the higher the number, the better.
The higher the number, the better. So the cervical length really protects your baby from entering the outside world a lot sooner. So again, I don't know what to contribute that to, because a lot of women have progesterone shots and cerclages in our own bed rest. I didn't have that situation. And again, it was multiples. But again, I just wanted to, my whole point of being on a panel is to let women know they have options. And are they 100%? No, nothing's ever 100%. But I felt like I took that option and I'm in a better place, and I felt more secure throughout my pregnancy, knowing that I took every step possible, to make sure that my baby boy is full term. And so we're nearing full term in about a week.
Now, Dr. I, can you speak a little bit about the benefits and the risks of those two procedures, the cerclage and the progesterone shot?
So in your case, she said it was a little controversial because she did the progesterone shot and the cerclage. And it's controversial just because most people don't do that, but it's not that there's necessarily something wrong with doing that. But generally in people that have a history of preterm labor, you have the choice of either a progesterone of some sort. It can be a progesterone shot like what you did. It can also be a progesterone pill. It can be a progesterone vaginal cream, which is some sort of progesterone supplement. Or you can do the cerclage, which is where you put a stitch in the cervix basically to close the cervix. They're both relatively low risk. I mean, there's nothing in life that's ever 100% effective or 100% risk-free. But the risks of progesterone, most people get the shot like you got. And really the biggest thing we see is that people just have a little bit of a reaction. It's not an allergy, but they get a little irritation.
Right.
So we try and rotate the sites a little bit. They itch a little bit, so maybe we'll tell them to take some Benadryl beforehand. But really that's about it. Most people really tolerate the progesterone well because progesterone is produced during pregnancy anyway. So it's not like you're introducing something into your body that's not already there.
Okay.
With the cerclage, it is a surgical procedure. It's a minor surgery, so it's not like neurosurgery. It's quick. It's outpatient. 5 minutes. But anytime you have surgery, there's a risk of bleeding. There's a risk of infection, and the biggest risk to the pregnancy is the risk of breaking the bag of water.
Right.
Now, there are really two types of situations with the cerclage. There's more preventative, like you, where they have a history of a preterm delivery, so you put it in pretty early, like 13, 14 weeks before the cervix really starts to thin. And those are really, really low risk. Nothing's ever zero, but those are really low risk. There's a situation where patients come in and they're already starting to dilate and their cervix is starting to thin out. And you can still put a stitch in, but there's a higher risk there. There's a higher risk of infection, there's a higher risk of breaking the bag of water, and also you kind of get what they call a Ferguson's reflex. So, we don't know if the contractions come first and then the cervix starts to thin out and open up, or if it's, the cervix opening and thinning, which puts pressure on the cervix and brings contractions. We don't know. But once that cervix does start to open up and thin out, the uterus is contracting some, and when you put a stitch in, sometimes that can tear the cervix. So those are kind of the big risks. But if it's the appropriately selected patient, so somebody like you that we already know the history, so we know day one when you come in the office, this is what we're going to do, cerclage is very, very low risk, as is a progesterone. And like you said, most people don't do both, but I have had patients where you can, and it's just kind of that mentality of, I'm going to do everything I can.
If you're a higher risk.
If you're higher risk, right.
Okay.
If you're not a high-risk pregnancy, if you've never had a preterm delivery, preterm labor, there's no need for it. This is for people that have had preterm labor in the past or preterm deliveries. I will say, sometimes with our new OB patients, we do check a progesterone level. If that's kind of borderline, so you want to see it at or above a certain level in pregnancy, I will recommend oral progesterone supplements until they hit their 3rd month. But for the majority of people, it's only if you've had that history or if there's something going on in the current pregnancy that we would recommend progesterone or cerclage.
Now, with Safir's first pregnancy, she mentioned, at the time she was going into that preterm labor, her doctor hadn't really spoken to you about that as a possibility?
Well, they stated that, with twins, with multiples, they don't necessarily recommend a cerclage. However, I've done research where people have had cerclages and gone on to be, have successful twin or triplet pregnancies. and most importantly, bed rest, to stay off your feet. So mine was at a point, my cervix was at a point of like 2.5, and it was tight and it was closed. So from like Tuesday to Sunday, it had completely thinned out. So it's something that I don't think they foresaw, coming. So again, they don't know what came first, whether or not, the contractions thinned it or after, preterm labor is very elusive. You don't know what started it. For the most part, again, they thought it was because, of the multiples. But a lot of women go on to have full-term pregnancies with multiples, So for me, I just wanted to make sure that it did not happen again. I think a lot of women are afraid, you may be afraid to speak up, with your doctor and say, okay, what are my options? What's the game plan? And because I had twins, I'm considered quote unquote high risk initially. And then after I gave birth, they said I'm high risk, but my pregnancy right now isn't high risk, but my past is.
Yeah, and I just want to say, you bring up an excellent point. Obviously as physicians, we've gone through all these years of education and training, so, we do, in theory, we do know what we're talking about.
Right.
But you've got to be an empowered patient,
Yep.
You've got to ask the questions. And do your own research as well, and have an idea what you want. You can come in, I may say, well, that's really not an option for X, Y, and Z reasons, but you've got to empower yourself. And a lot of people don't do that until, unfortunately, a bad event happens and they start to really do research, and so you've got to be an empowered patient. That's crucial.
Yeah, and I think the thing with preterm labor, you really don't even have an option of getting a shot, like a progesterone shot or a cerclage, until you actually lose.
Until you meet it.
Yeah, well, until a lot of people lose children. Well, I may be a little biased because of the blogs that I've been reading, but from what I've seen is that a lot of women or a friend may have like lost a child at 19 weeks, lost a child at 20 weeks, and now they know they need it. They need, the extra measure. And so it's like it's almost too late.
It really, and you're right. One thing that I recommend, and one thing that we kind of do routinely in my practice, we do check that progesterone level in the beginning of pregnancy, and then when we do that dating ultrasound to see how early you are, we check the cervical length, check the length of the cervix. Because people that have a short cervix in the beginning of pregnancy, you may not necessarily want to do a cerclage at 6 weeks or 7 weeks or 8 weeks for other reasons, but you want to watch that. And if the cervix is shortening earlier than it should be, because it will eventually shorten, but if it's shortening earlier than it should be, then absolutely you're a candidate for cerclage or progesterone. And most people just don't do that.
For a woman who is over the age of 30, who either she's interested in becoming pregnant or she's currently pregnant, what are some things she can do to help ensure a healthy pregnancy?
The biggest things you can do to ensure a healthy pregnancy, ideally you want to start thinking about that before you are pregnant. The best thing you can do is just make sure that you are head to toe healthy. So if you have high blood pressure, get that blood pressure under control, get on medications that are safe for pregnancy. If you're diabetic, you really want your blood sugar well controlled for a few months before you become pregnant, because if that blood sugar is high early in pregnancy, you have a much, much higher risk of fetal anomalies. So the theme is, before you're pregnant, you want to just maximize your overall health status. You also want to be taking prenatal vitamins with folic acid for a few months before you become pregnant. Once you are actually pregnant, it's all about maintaining that, that healthy lifestyle. So you want to eat well, you want to hydrate, you want to take your prenatal vitamins, you want to get prenatal care, and you want to make sure that you are doing everything during your prenatal care that you're supposed to. That's kind of the biggest thing you can do, both pre-pregnancy and then during pregnancy.
Now, what about, we don't really talk enough about infertility. Can you just touch on that a little bit, especially as it relates to Black women and infertility?
So infertility, just the technical definition of infertility, is if you are actively trying to get pregnant for a period of 12 months and you've not become pregnant. I don't really even like the term infertility. I use subfertility, because infertility, when I hear that, I think like it's not going to happen. You're pregnant, you can't have a baby, Whereas in reality, most of these people are subfertile. It's not that the situation is not ideal, but with time they may become pregnant. African American women have the same risks as all other women in terms of the things that can cause infertility. Past infection, tubal disease, hormonal issues like hypothyroidism, all of those apply to African American women as well. In addition, we have fibroids. Now, fibroids are not a strictly African American thing, but many, it's much, much higher the likelihood of a black woman having fibroids versus somebody else. And that can again also cause not infertility, but subfertility depending on where they are. So if you're having issues with infertility, the first thing is, see your doctor, okay? I think it's one of those things that people don't really want to talk about, with their friends, with their family, or with their doctor. But seeing your doctor is crucial. And a big part of that is your partner needs to be part of this whole thing, And I kind of tease.
Because it might not be her, it might be him.
That's the thing. 40% of the time, 40%, so we're basically 50-50. 40% of the time it is the man, And I find with my patients, some men are like, whatever do we have to do? And some men are kind of like, I don't want to be involved, So I kind of tell my patients, I joke, tell him to take them for ice cream and bring him here and we got to have a discussion, But yeah, you want to both be a part of this because sometimes it's something relatively easy, But yeah, I guess the silver lining with infertility is there's a lot that can be done. If it is male factor infertility, it can be something as simple as if he has a low sperm count, they can do intrauterine insemination. So they just get the good sperm and they put it directly into the uterus. You can do that, It can be something like in vitro fertilization, where you just get one good sperm, mix it with the egg, and put the embryo in the uterus. For some women, if it's tubal disease, like the tubes are blocked, it's usually not, well, not usually, but sometimes it's not a permanent blockage, it's transient. So some of the tests that you do to check the tubes out actually clear the tubes out.
Oh, wow.
So there are a lot of things you can do, to figure out why the infertility exists, and most importantly, to take care of it. Sometimes it's just as simple as you're not ovulating every month, And unfortunately, America's becoming heavier and heavier. And as we become heavier, we have a higher risk of just anovulation, not ovulating every month. But again, there are things you can do to take care of that, medications. So you have to it's not one of those fun topics, but you have to discuss it with your partner and discuss it with your doctor.
Are there things that women can do to help their man become more fertile?
Yeah.
More fertile.
Generally, if a man is having fertility issues, it is a low sperm count.
Okay.
It can be some simple lifestyle changes. The tighty-whities, throw them away.
Get rid of them.
When you're wearing those tighty-whities, the testicles are closer to the body heat can lower sperm count. Okay. If your man likes a bath, tell him to go to the shower. Same thing. Sit and just kind of let the boys float in the hot water for hours, You're gonna reduce your sperm count.
Low in the water.
Low in the water. It's coffee. I love my coffee. No caffeine yet. Sometimes you gotta reduce that caffeine and boost that sperm count.
And is that true for women as well? We should limit our caffeine?
Just to be fair. But not really.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't do a lot for ovulation, but yeah. So those are some simple lifestyle changes. And alcohol and smoking, same thing. You don't necessarily have to cut it out altogether, but if you maybe overindulge, you maybe need to cut that back a bit as well to boost up those sperm counts. So those are some simple things that men can do to increase the sperm count. Now sometimes it's just, if you've had infections in the past, what they call orchitis, so like inflammation of the testes, like if you had mumps, for example, that's not something that can be changed, but if you figure it out, there are things you can do to kind of get over that. So.
Now, what if you're a woman currently pregnant and unfortunately you do happen to go into a premature labor and give birth, health challenges of premature babies, and just, I guess, encouragement or hope for women who may be raising premature babies?
I think the thing to know is that as science advances, that threshold kind of moves further and further back. So some at 35, 36 weeks have had issues, but the general theme is that really everything is affected, Most parts of the body are not developed yet, and so they can be affected. The big ones are the lungs. You don't produce that fluid in the lungs that helps the lungs to expand so that you can breathe outside of the uterus until later in pregnancy. Now they can give the baby that, they can actually inject it into the lungs, but you're not born with it. A lot of times babies can have visual issues because the vessels that go to the eyes just aren't mature, so they can have either blindness or just decreased vision. A lot of times you can get bleeding in the brain, kind of the same thing. Those vessels just aren't they're not ready yet, they're not mature. You can have issues with the gut, what they call necrosis, so like part of the intestines actually die off, So it can affect the entire body. So that's why the ideal situation is to prevent preterm delivery. But as science advances, if a baby is born preterm, there's so much that we can do, And it's not just as a baby, even as the child is going through their entire childhood years. There are lots of therapies and things that can be done to kind of bring your child up to speed, so to speak. So it's not a death sentence. It doesn't mean that your child won't go to Harvard. It's not a death sentence. That's the most important thing.
And so I guess to kind of close it out, what advice, and both of you can speak to this, as a woman going to speak to her doctor, being that empowered patient, what are the questions or the things that you should look for in your doctor to make sure that you have a healthy pregnancy?
I guess I can start it off too, just so he can correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm sure you're right. You've been very on it. You're on point.
And I go to Dr. Google a lot. I think
DrBlackDoctor.org. She meant BlackDoctor.org.
After BlackDoctor.org, I go to Dr. Google because it's culturally relevant.
Right.
You know, and I had an issue. I thought I had an issue with quote unquote subfertility or infertility after I gave birth to my twins. We were trying to get pregnant. I wanted to get pregnant like right away, and it didn't happen for me. And so it took almost 12 months. And so I wasn't necessarily considered infertile at that time because of that time frame. But I did go see a fertility doctor, and he really told me, Tafera, do not get pregnant within the next 2 weeks. We're going to try something and make sure that you're okay before you get pregnant. So I got pregnant in the next 2 weeks. Everything is fine, but I'm not saying go against your doctor's orders. But that was just my situation. But I came in to my doctor, you know, the second time around, a lot more empowered, you know, with information, with questions, with options. And even with the fertility doctor, I had a lot of questions, and he addressed those, you know. And I think as women, we just need to know, number one, you're not alone. You know, because a lot of women go through, you know, miscarriages, infertility, preterm labor. Like I'm sitting here talking to a girlfriend from high school last week, and she said, oh, I had cercospacity with all of my girls. You know, it's just something that you don't think that other women, you know, go through. So number one, you're not alone. Two, you have options. Like you said, it's not, you know, it's not a death sentence if your child is born early. If you want to seek other options for fertility, just make sure that you are in communication with a certified doctor. You do your own research, and you feel confident. And you know, again, I think prayer is really important in my life. You know, faith is an important factor to even try again. You know, there's a lot of women don't want to try again after something as scary as, you know, being infertile for a while.
And can you just speak to that really quickly? Just the mental, like how you dealt.
Well, I actually went to counseling. I sought counseling after my twins passed away at 20 weeks. That's about 5 months, so I'm pretty far along in showing in my pregnancy, and a lot of people knew about it. So I wasn't afraid to say, hey, I need help because this doesn't really make sense to me, you know. So I sought counseling, and for my husband and I know a lot of people, like a lot of couples go through miscarriages and it ends in divorce. Because unfortunately a lot of women have multiple miscarriages, and it's a strain on your marriage. Just like anything else, like finances or what have you, but you know, grief is a huge weight on a marriage. And so we sought counseling, we came out great, and again, it's trying, but I felt like my strength came from, you know, sharing my story, having a supportive family, friends, writing, reaching out to women like I am now to let them know that they have options and not to be afraid to try again. Like my doctor said, Tafera, don't get pregnant.
Challenge.
Right. And I'm like, challenge. Because he really showed me all the steps that you have to go through to get pregnant, and it was difficult, you know, from a human standpoint, where you say, oh, this has to align at this point, and everything has to be just, you know, perfect in order for the egg and the sperm to unite, and it has to be a good environment, you know, and it's like, oh my gosh, I have to do more work, you know. And so once I just said I'm going to relax into it, I stopped drinking a lot of coffee. I started drinking more green juice. I can't really attribute it to any one thing of how I got pregnant, but by the grace of God. And I got pregnant. And I was, you know, you're fearful that it will happen again. You know, a lot of women go into that. But again, I stayed in contact with my doctor. I was in communication with my husband, and I wasn't afraid to go into the doctor if I had any issues. So that would be my advice. It's like, don't be afraid. No question is a stupid question. You're not alone. You know, depend on your family and friends, faith, whatever can get you to that next level of achieving your dreams and desires of having a child is completely, you know, it's possible. So.
And I mean, that was honestly, that was an excellent summary. I mean, that was perfect. You know, I echo what you said. Like, you've got to be that empowered patient. You've got to ask questions, and part of asking questions is preparation.
Yes.
So do a little research and know what questions you want to ask. Because I have some patients where I'm like, any questions? No, you have questions, but I can't pull them out of you, you know. And I have that patient that's like, any questions? Yep. And they unroll it, and, you know, number 1, number 2, number 3. So be empowered, do your research, know what your questions are, ask your questions. You've got to have a doctor that you feel comfortable with. You know, I've had some situations, because I usually don't tell people I'm a doctor when I go to the doctor, you know. I've had some situations where I'm kind of like, this isn't going to work. The bedside manner just sucks, and this isn't going to click. So you've got to be with somebody you feel comfortable with, somebody that you can open up to, because this is kind of like a member of your family, you know. I mean, they see the inside of your head, the inside of your body, they see everything. So you got to feel comfortable with it, you know. It's true, you know. And one thing, it's kind of an ancillary, but I'm glad you said it, because I think that people in general, especially African Americans, we have this stigma around counseling. Yes. You know, like, oh, if I see a counselor, I'm crazy. No, you're not crazy. You admit it. I will say I see a counselor now. Has nothing to do with infertility, obviously. And, you know, but it's just like you need to be able to talk to somebody sometimes and have an ear that is not necessarily looking at it this way or that way. They can kind of just give you some unbiased advice. Right. So that is another thing. You know, and not just, it can be just the wife or the husband or as a couple, but because it's not easy. It's not easy. I have patients, even if you lose a baby at 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, it's more than just a baby. It's the dream that you had. It's this child you became attached to. So it is something that, you know, it's hard to go through. So that is crucial. That is crucial, I think. If you're having trouble, also seek counseling. But yeah, empower yourself, do your research, ask your questions. If you need help, ask your doctor, see a counselor, but be an empowered patient.
Awesome information. Thank you both. Thank you to Fair. Thank you, Dr. I. For more information,
say the whole name. Say it.
Come on. Injuries.
roll it.
Rahman.
There you are.
And I want to show my belly.
Show the belly. Right.
And
And you can find more information from the twins at twindoctorstv.com. They're also on Instagram at twindoctorstv, at twindoctorstv, Facebook, Twitter at Twin Doctors TV. Just remember Twin Doctors. So another guy that looks just like him. We appreciate your time, Facebook family. Until next time, we will see you soon.
Hey guys, this is Leah from Blood and Sweat Athletics. I'm taking over Black Doctor's Facebook page again, and I have with me here Pranita. Say hi to the people. Hey everyone. She's also known as, what do they call you? P-Money? P-Money. P-Money, all right. Well, I have Pranita here with me today because if you see my other videos, I'm sort of just giving you kind of tidbits of what to do, exercises you can do at home. So I just kind of tell you what to do. I go over the moves 1 or 2 times, and then we just kind of wrap it up real quick. But I brought someone here with me today so we can give you more of a full workout that you can do. And today, we're going to be working those buns and thighs. Let's get started right away. All right, first thing we're going to do is the squat. So Pranita, have your feet shoulder a little bit wider than shoulder distance apart. And we're going to do this because when you're widen your stance, you target your hamstrings and your glutes more. So we're going to just drop down and hold it there. Perfect. I love a beautiful squat. So as you can see, Pranita can see you. You can see Pranita. Chest is up. Whole time she's coming down. And we want to be careful with our knees here. So when she comes up, she's going to drive through the heel. So we're going to give you the side view. Hold it right there. And some things to note here. Again, chest is up, head is up, chin is up. Hold it down right there. You see she has a 90-degree angle right here. Thigh is parallel to the floor. She's going to come up and drive through the heel, squeezing the glutes, squeezing the hamstrings to come up. And Pranita, when you come up, don't lock your knees. Come up and keep those legs engaged. So come down, come back up, and right there, and come down, slow count, when you come down. So come up and come down for 1, 2, 3. Come up and down. 1, 2, 3. Nice and slow, nice and controlled. Don't lock those knees when you come up. When you lock the knees, you disengage the muscle. So you want to keep that muscle working. You want to keep those legs working. She's breathing, she's working. That's what we want. We're going to do this 25 times. Nice job, Kanita. And then we're going to go straight into our lunge. Let's give them a side view of the lunge. So turn to the side. We're going to do the regular. Okay. The side view. So
Start this way.
You got it. And then we're going to do the front lunge first. She's jumping ahead. She's ready to go. She's ready to get those buns and thighs in shape. So just step out and lunge, and then right there. So hold it right there. You can see again, 90-degree angle. Thigh is parallel to the floor. She's working. She's going to come back up and switch legs. Come down, 90 degrees again. Chest is up. Chin up. And we're going to do this 25 times. She's not going to do it 25 times. You're going to do it 25 times. She's demonstrating here. 25 times she's going to come down. That's 1. Come back up. And down again. That's 2. You're going to do that all the way to 25. And you can see when she comes down, she's taking 2 steps to get back up. And that's okay. You might have to do that at first. As you get stronger, you'll be able to do it in 1 move. And another thing I want to mention really quickly, she's like, hurry up, hurry. I want to mention really quickly is, again, protect your knees, drive through the heels, and make sure you come up, make sure you step out long enough so you get a 90-degree, get that 90-degree angle with your legs. So you don't want your knees going over your toes. That's bad for your knees. All right, then we're going to move on to the side lunge. Side lunge, similar to the front lunge, but you're just going out to the side. Nice and easy, just like that. Again, chest is up, head is up. Renita can see you, you can see her. Wait to me. Okay, and then she's putting her hands up for balance. And another thing I like that she's doing, I can see she's getting tired, but she's breathing. Breathe. Exhale as you come down. Inhale as you come up. Keeps her focused, keeps her engaged, keeps her working. So we don't want to crash, we want to stay working. 25 times again. This is 1, come down, and that's 2. Nice job. Protect those knees. Make sure your toes, your knee doesn't go over your toe. When you come up, drive through the heels and come all the way up. So now we've done, that's the leg portion of the workout. We're going to break for 1 minute. We're going to need to catch her breath, let her grab some water. You at home, you grab some water. But if you're not drinking, you're constantly moving. Stay moving, march it out some, you know, just kind of shake it out. Stay moving, remotivate yourself, focus. 1 minute, not 1 minute and 10 seconds, not 1 minute and 5 seconds, 1 minute exactly. As soon as your minute is over, back into it again. Now we're going to work those glutes. Lie straight on your back, feet hip distance apart, and bring your legs closer to your glutes. And then she's just going to drive up like that, squeezing with the glutes to push her hips up towards the ceiling. Then come down. Nice and slow and drive up. And I think she can go a little bit higher, perfect, right there. You can see a straight line, nice, perfect, come down nice and slow. So when you come down, you're not gonna crash, we're just gonna drop our glutes down nice and slow, and then come up. Crash for me, let's see, that's crashing, no good. You don't wanna disengage that muscle, keep it tight. If you need to take a break, take a break. But if you're working, you're always working. Come up and down nice and slow. For 3 counts down, 1, 2, 3, and come up, down, 1, 2, 3, 25 times. You feel that burn in your glutes. Then after you do that, go straight into what we call donkey kicks. So for you to come up into a tabletop. So hands underneath the shoulders, legs or knees underneath the hips. She's nice to bring your arm forward a little bit. Nice box here. Back is flat. I can squat. drink some coffee, tell a joke. All right, so she's gonna keep this 90-degree bend in her leg and just use her glute, this left glute here, to drive her heel up. And squeeze and back down. And up again. There we go. Just like that, nice and simple. Some things to remember here. I'm going to correct her a little bit. Keep that 90-degree angle right there and keep your legs close to your body. So don't come out. Don't twist your torso out. Keep it flat, just like that. Nice. Come up. Really feel that glute. And you see she's shaking. She's working right there. Squeeze. Give me 2 more, Perdita. You got it. 2 more. It's nothing. 2 more. 1. Nice. Come back down. Keep that leg bent. And nice. And switch. Same thing with the other side. Squeezing that glute. And as she gets tired, again, she has the knee to cheek. You see she's like kicking me right now. Again, we want to make sure we keep that leg straight up. So don't go off to the side, just kick it straight up. Imagine your glutes squeezing, and imagine your hip is like a hinge, and all you're doing is just pushing your leg back. Just push your leg back. You give me 2 more on this side too. You got it. And 2. Nice job. At home, do 25 each side. Then after that, you need to take a break. You can stretch it out. You can do you can do like a downward dog. So Perdita, just kind of stretch it out like that, or child's pose. If you need to take a break, you feel that stretch in your glutes. And then last move we're going to do here is called the fire hydrant. And this is called a fire hydrant because you're like a puppy using the bathroom. So you just lift your legs straight up into the air. Use your side glute to squeeze your side glute and bring your legs straight up. Again, as you get tired, you'll try to use your back. Your back will start to arch. You know, arms might start to flare out. Make sure you keep that tabletop nice and flat, squeezing each time. Do a few more. And keep a 90-degree angle in your leg. There we go. 25 times each side. Take breaks if you need to, but try to get through it as best you can. Good job, Perdita. Great. Now I have given her a workout in the middle of her lunch break. Perfect. And so you can get up and you're victorious and you think you're done jumping around. Not exactly. So wait another minute and go through that whole sequence again. So she's going to take a break, drink her water. She's not going to do it now. She's got to get back to work. She's going to drink her water. And after 1 minute, not a minute 5, 1 minute exactly, she's going to go right back into our squat. And that's it. Good job, Perdita. That's a wrap.
Dang, wow, wait.
Hey.
Well, hey, Facebook family. They give us no countdown. Yeah, we're going live, but apparently we are live. So I am Sandria Washington holding it down for Team BDO, and I am here with the beautiful Besties MD, Dr. Chantal and Dr. Gamelli. How are you, ladies?
Very good. Very happy to be here.
Been too long since the last time you were here.
Yes.
So let's start letting our viewers know who exactly you are, who we have in the building, because they may not be aware of this awesomeness that's sitting right here. So we will start with whomever wants to go first.
Well, I'm Dr. Chantal, and I'm an internal medicine doctor. I practice in the western suburbs. I'm part of the Besties MD crew.
Hi. And I am Dr. Gamelli. I am an emergency medicine doctor, and I also work in the south suburbs.
Awesome. So Besties MDs, first of all, are you guys really besties?
Yes.
Like, true story. I mean, look at it. How did this come about?
So Besties MD is really a passion project for us. We've always known that we wanted to be working in the community, and specifically with women you know, with health disparities, and really educating and empowering women through health education, which is really our motto. But we're trying to do it in a fun,
relatable
way, and talk about the topics that are important to women.
What we found is, you know, we have cousins and sisters who come to us and they'll just come from the doctor and still not understand what is going on with them. We're like, man, there's a boy. We are getting it. We got to break it down in a relatable way, just like how you talk to your sister.
Right.
So what better person than to have my sister do it?
Yes.
Of course. What better person?
Yes. So we've been able to do this through YouTube videos. We write a bunch of articles as well.
Some of them on blackdoctor.org.
Yes, check it out on Black Doctor. And then lastly, a big part of Besties MD is our Medical Mavens mentorship program. So, you know, we don't want the legacy to end with us. There's a lot of young girls, minority girls out there who want to be doctors, and we really are aiming to create a pipeline from junior high, high school, all the way to completing medical school, and really being there and supporting them throughout the entire process.
Awesome, awesome. So this afternoon we have our super special lunchtime chat talking about how to make healthy living your BFF, which who better to speak with than real life BFF. So this chat is being brought to you by Meta VMS. So we will get into talking about healthy living, heart health, our mental health, physical health, so many things that are important. And I want to start by, a lot of people, their health is not their BFF. You know, their relationship just might not quite be there. So how do you even get on the road to having a healthy relationship with everything that's going on with you?
I think once you recognize that it's important, right? It's important just as anything else. You know, people go get their nails done, their hair done. You also got to take care of your inside too. So once you recognize that it's important, I think it's the little things that you do. Very simple. I think as simple as drinking water as opposed to drinking sugary beverages, you know.
Just starting slow. You know, it's hard to commit to a big lifestyle change. So you start a little bit at a time. Okay, you're drinking 2% milk. Maybe go down to 1% and then do skim. And then maybe try plant-based milk like almond milk or soy milk. And before you know it, you have a healthy habit that is now a lifestyle.
Even taking the stairs at work, I do that at work because I don't always have the time to work out like how I would like to. So I say, okay, once I'm in the building, stairs all day. You know, it's just simple things that you do.
Or if it's time to start working out, maybe start with 1 day a week. Maybe just do, okay, Wednesdays are my workout days. Then in a couple weeks, add another day. In a couple weeks, add another day. And before you know it, you're working out most days of the week, which is what we should be doing anyway.
Okay. And I love that you touched on how busy you are because, of course, you're doctors, you are family women, husbands, children, friendships. How do you fit in exercise, eating healthy, all the things that are part of a healthy lifestyle when you're just busy? And it's summertime.
It is.
Like 4th of July weekend, all kinds of stuff going on.
How
How do you make it happen with a busy lifestyle?
So I know personally for me, I find that multitasking is probably the best way to go. So combine your activities with something else. For example, we went to yoga.
Yes.
No, we went to
Zumba.
Zumba.
Yes.
Zumba, but it was in the park. So we, got a hangout session, but we also got some activity as well. Another thing that I found is when you are at work, instead of sitting in rush hour for maybe like an hour and a half, why don't you find a gym that's close to your job, work out for half an hour, and you'll still end up getting home at the same
Done
time.
that many times just to avoid the traffic. Walk over to the gym, get it in. And you know what? You mentioned the summertime. The best part about Chicago, specifically in the summer, is there's so much to do. You have the free summer dance festivals. We did Pilates, we did Zumba. They have everything. Yoga.
Cheese.
And it's free. Free. And you can bike, everything.
And
It's
just
so easy.
you can do it with your husband, your sister, your kids even. We brought Haley with us to Zumba, which is her daughter.
My 3-year-old daughter to Zumba.
So that's family time with activity.
Does it help to have an accountability partner? So as you're trying to make these lifestyle changes, you have your bestie with you. Is it a help, or do you feel like there's like some healthy competition? Like, oh snap, she walked up the stairs today, I didn't do it. Like, how does that work?
I think is helpful.
Yeah.
Because there's plenty of times where I want to, cancel. Like, I'm a little tired. If it was just me and I didn't have to answer to anybody, I would just forget about it. But I'm like, oh, I have to call her. There's no answer.
Yes. Even tonight, we're supposed to go to African dance class later this evening, but I worked last
She
night.
already
And I'm like,
tired.
I haven't slept yet, and I'm tired, but I know there's someone who's going to do it with me, so that helps. And I think I've also noticed a lot of people are using social media for accountability,
Yes.
right? Like they're posting pictures and their progress and their update, and because their followers are watching them and seeing their progress, it kind of motivates them too. So that's another good way to have accountability as well.
Now, switching gears for a minute, what's the connection between diabetes, high cholesterol, heart disease, on your health? What's the connection with all of those?
Well, specifically with diabetes affects every single part of your body. The sugars, a lot of people recognize that it's damaging kind of their eyes and their kidneys, but it damages every single blood vessel in the body, including those that have to do with the heart.
Right.
So it eats away at the blood vessels, and over time you can develop significant heart disease because it's eating up the blood vessels. It also damages the muscles of the heart as well. So that's how diabetes works. But then high blood pressure.
It's the same. I mean, it's all about these precious vessels. They are what supply nutrients to all of our bodies. So diabetes can make your blood vessels leaky, just like high blood pressure can make them weak, or high cholesterol can make them clog. So if you have a combination, and there's so many people, we call it like the triple threat, high cholesterol, diabetes, hypertension. We have so many patients that have all three going on.
Sometimes they come hand in hand.
Yeah, so you end up with these damaged blood vessels, so your body is not getting the nutrients that it needs. Then you have heart disease, you have heart attacks, heart failure, kidney failure, blindness, every stroke,
in your fingertips,
numbness and tingling. That it all comes down to these precious blood vessels.
So what can we do? We talked a lot about exercise, but what should we be eating? So of course, every day we're eating, hopefully at least 3 times a day. What are the foods that can really help us with preventing or managing diabetes, hypertension, heart disease?
I think sometimes it's easy to get overwhelmed, watching TV because they tell you, don't eat this, eat that, eat this, eat that. And you're just like, what do I eat? I have no idea. But there's simple things you can just incorporate in your diet. And one of them being fiber is just that simple.
Right.
Fiber really is kind of a wonder drug,
yeah, it's
so
like
to speak.
magic, actually.
And specifically in the form of like psyllium, it really helps with your digestive process. It also decreases your blood sugar. It also helps decrease cancer. Cholesterol is associated with it.
And then keeps your bowels nice and
Regular.
Which is always, it's very important.
Talking dirty at lunch right now.
I'm just saying, our GI tract is very, very important. There's a lot of our immune system in there. Even like our emotions, a lot of that is related to our gut. So good gut health, it really lends to overall health.
Helps to detoxify. It's very good. And don't forget, when you're taking your fiber in your psyllium form, you want to take your water with it. Lots and lots of water to keep you regular.
We do something called Water Only Wednesday.
I saw that. Everybody what Water Only Wednesdays is.
So we took a pledge to drink more water, and it can be difficult to do it all day, every day, so we pick Wednesdays. So we challenged our friends, we challenged our colleagues that on Wednesday, you choose to drink water only. You still eat, it's not a fast or anything like that, it's just when you choose to drink something, you choose water. And so you get water in all day. And you'll notice the difference, your skin, your attitude.
You both have beautiful, their skin, I don't know if you can see it, we need to zoom in, but their skin is flawless.
Thank you. So water really helps. And then to Chantal's point about, you don't know what to eat, I think the most important thing is just making sure you're getting a variety, right? You're getting a variety of colors in your fruits and your vegetables. You're getting in your high fiber. You're getting in your lean meats and your healthy fats. And really, if you stick to that and add plenty of water, that is a great diet and something that is not just a diet, but something that you can maintain for a long time.
As we like to tell people, when you have a plate in front of you, make sure your plate is colorful. That's the best way to look at it. As long as you have greens, purples, browns, all the different colors in there, you know you're having a balanced diet.
Now, you ladies, what do you do specifically to keep yourselves in check? So you're always dealing with patients, but of course you have to come back and deal with number one. So what keeps you healthy and balanced? What are some of your practices? Outside of Zumba.
I think for me, I start my day off with prayer and then also meditation, just to center myself. because I just want to kind of focus my energy on what my goal and my task is for the day. And it just uses it as a reminder as the day gets tough and as it gets long, you know what, I bring it back to what it was like that morning when I was in peace. And it really helps me.
Sure. For me, we have a saying in medicine that it goes start low and go slow. And that's how we give medicine. But that's
Say that again. I like that.
You start low and you go slow, okay? But I find that helps personally for myself, because it's hard for me to make big changes all of a sudden. But if I make a whole bunch of small changes before I know they've collected up into, again, a healthy lifestyle, into new habits. So I really try not to set these big lofty goals. I just choose one thing at a time. Okay, I know I'm going to go to the gym today, and that's what I'm going to do. Or I know I'm not going to eat junk food today, or I know I'm going to drink more water today. Whatever that goal is for that day, just really try to focus on that and just take it one step at a time, one day at a time, so that you don't get overwhelmed, and that's going to help you to succeed.
I think also when you're dealing with family and you're dealing with friends and trying to spend time with them, I often hear an excuse, I don't have time to work out or do this because of the kids or my husband. I incorporate them with everything I'm doing. If I'm going to cook a healthy meal, they're going to help me chop up the salad. My kids love it, you know? And then you're also teaching them healthy diet too.
Yeah.
And they learn it early.
Yes.
Even, you know, in terms of exercise, many times I take my daughter, put her in the jogger stroller, and we running around the track together. She's getting fresh air. You know, you kind of bring it all together and bring everyone involved.
And that's what makes it a lifestyle,
Mhm.
and not a fad, right? It's not a diet. It's not just something. It's not a tea that you're going to use for 30 days or whatever. But it's actually a lifestyle, something that is going to be consistent for the rest of your life. And that's what's most important at the end of the day. You can lose 30 pounds right away, but what about keeping it off?
Right.
What about strength? What about flexibility, right? We're
Yeah.
just talking about yoga. Like, what about all these other things? Mental health, you know, it's not just about what you see on the scale.
Now, what do you do when you fall off? So you tried to build this healthy lifestyle. You were eating good a couple of days. You did your meal prep. You walked. You did, everything you were supposed to do for the first 4 days of the week, and then, the 5th day came and you just fell off.
I mean,
what do you do?
I call that balance.
I call that real life.
Exactly. I say you just start right back the next day, and most importantly, don't beat yourself up for it. No one is going to expect you to be perfect for the rest of your life. Life happens. I love some cake and pizza and all that too. I have to choose better most of the time, right? But you don't have to. It can't be all the time, and that's okay. So if you fall off, you just start right back the next day. Yeah.
Big word, moderation. No one's saying you can't have your pizza sometimes,
Yes.
your French fries.
We never tell people, oh, you can't eat that, don't ever eat that, because it's just not realistic.
It's not practical. You're not going to be able to keep it up.
Exactly.
Moderation.
And then you're going to beat yourself up, and
Right.
that's not good for your mental health either, so it's just get back on the next day. It'll be all right.
It'll be all right. And speaking of mental health, how do you deal with stress? I know we as Black women, stress is a huge factor for us, not only mentally but also physically, wears on our heart. How do you particularly deal with stress, and how do you advise your patients to deal with stress? Just the stress of living, in the city, being a woman, being a Black woman. How do you deal?
I think for me the biggest thing is I had to realize I don't have to do it all alone. I don't. And I feel like commonly for Black women, we feel like we have to walk around with the S on our chest, the cape, and just do everything. You don't. You don't. If you have sisters, family members that are willing to help, willing to just help you out, allow that to happen. I remember it was right after I had the baby. The biggest thing she did for me was she brought home a meal. She cooked at her house and brought it over to my house. I was like, and things like that. And I think if you,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No.
I think it's also very important to know what you can outsource. Okay?
Oh, I know.
Listen, get a cleaner.
Yes.
All right? It's one of the best investments that you can make. $100 a month, get someone to come and clean your house really well once a month, and you keep it up. Why not? That's one less thing you have to do, which I know that's something we both have done in the past, because it helps. It's just one less thing that you have to worry about. Just figure out ways that you can eliminate some of the things on your to-do list, because you can't do it all, and it's okay. It's okay not to be able to.
So sisterhood support.
Of course.
Extremely
Of course.
important.
Very, very important.
What
Essential.
are some of the concerns you hear from a lot of your patients? just things that Black women are dealing with. What do you hear on a regular basis in your offices?
Well, I'm in the ER, so it's a little bit of a different situation. I don't have regular patients, but I think I do hear a lot that people just are not aware. Like, they know they have hypertension, but they don't really know what it means. They know they have diabetes, but they don't really know why they have to have their blood sugar at this level. And so even though, you know, we started Besties MD and we do a lot of health education, I always do a lot of health education on the job. You know, it just takes that extra 5 minutes of sitting in your patient's room, even in a busy ER, and really just trying to break it down. Yeah. And that's something I hear from my nurses and my patients all the time, like, wow, I never heard it broken down like that, or I never understood it like that. But if you just break it down into the simpler pieces, these diseases are not impossible to understand. You know, everyone makes med school seem so hard, and it's tough, don't get me wrong, but the information is digestible, and there's a way to deliver the information so that your patients understand. So that's what I've noticed a lot at work.
Same?
Yeah.
Similar thing.
They just don't know. Just a lot of lack of knowledge, and they're taking all these meds and, you know, trying this and trying that, but they don't really understand the disease process. And as a patient, I think you have to really be empowered. You know, you have to. It's not just the doctor who's writing meds. You have to also
relationship.
know. Yeah, you have to know what's going on.
So
You have
build
to
a
have
relationship with your doctor,
You
not
have
just
to.
yourself.
You have to. And you can trust your doctor, you know? You can trust your doctor with any questions or issues that you have. Just speak up and be aware.
So what are your top 3 things that you would suggest people do to live a healthy lifestyle? Each of you give your top 3.
Okay.
Top 3.
For a healthy lifestyle.
Yes.
Okay. You were ready to go.
No.
I would say try to move as much as possible. Make the better choice as often as possible. That's when it comes to your diet or activity. And then don't beat yourself up too much. I think we neglect how important mental health is and how we think about ourselves and think about our bodies. So really having a positive body image no matter what you look like, no matter how much you weigh.
I would say number 1, baby steps are good steps and it leads to big rewards. So whatever small things you can do in your life, however small, will lead to big rewards in the long run. That'll be number 1.
Health.org and our readership. You can find them online at bestiesmd.com. Again, this afternoon chat was brought to you by Meta VMS, sorry. And thank you for joining us. We hope that you will make health your new BFF.
Hey,
take care.
What's up, guys? I'm Jackie, and you are watching BlackDoctor.org, where you have access to health information for your everyday life. And today, I am going to show you guys how to make your own do-it-yourself body butter using unrefined shea butter, coconut oil, and olive oil. Now, there's a cup of shea butter, there is half a cup of olive oil, and a half a cup of coconut oil. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it all in a bowl. And after you put it in a bowl, you are going to get a mixer. You're going to mix it all up until it's nice and creamy. Now, this may take a couple of minutes, but it'll work. You just have to give it some time. And you're gonna mix until it gets nice and whipped and creamy. body butter. I'm making this with body butter, and this is the consistency of it. Again, I used a half a cup of olive oil, a half a cup of coconut oil, and a cup of shea butter. And this is the consistency of it, and it's nice and creamy. Now, after you're done making this, it takes about just a couple of minutes, about 4 minutes to make. You are going to put it in a container, and you are going to make sure that you seal it correctly. I'm just gonna put it back in the shea butter container, but you can put it in Tupperware or any other container that basically seals. Now, when you're done making this, make sure that you put it in room temperature, because if it's not at room temperature and if it gets too hot, it can actually melt, and you don't want that to happen. So make sure you do that so it stays for a long time. And this shea butter, body butter, is really good for your skin. It really helps with scarring and stuff like stretch marks and cellulite, and it's really nice. Oh, sorry. Here's the end result. Now, for more do-it-yourself videos and beauty, health, and fitness tips, follow me at blackdoctor.org on Snapchat to see hacks and tips like this daily. Thanks for watching, guys.
Hi everyone, this is blackdoctor.org, and we're here with you today to discuss the hot topic of this week regarding the 16-year-old girl who was whooped or beaten, or however you look at it, by her mother, who was trying to discipline her for apparently posting a photo of herself and another young boy on social media. So we have some experts here today to talk about discipline in the Black community and what is love and what is abuse. So ladies, if you don't mind introducing yourselves.
Okay, I'm Lakeisha Gray Sewell. I'm an advocate, definitely not an expert at all. Lakeisha Gray Sewell, I'm the founder and executive director of Girls Like Me Project, which is a media literacy organization, and we mentor Black girls in the city of Chicago so that they can push back on stereotypes and stigmas that they get from negative media images and messages.
And are you a mother yourself?
I am a mother. I have a 16-year-old daughter, and I have a 17-year-old son who is leaving off to college in 2 weeks.
Hey, congratulations.
Yes. Yes.
Hi, Yanni.
Yes.
I'm Yanni Brown. I am a relationship educator, and I am I'm the author of the book Making Love Better Begins Within, which is the journey to loving self. I do workshops, and I'm also an advocate for healthy relationships as well. I think we've totally gotten caught up in being functional and dysfunctional relationships, so I'm doing all that I can to try and reverse that. In a nutshell.
All right. So we're first going to start off by getting the reaction of that these ladies had when they first saw the video. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it. It's gone viral. Again, this 16-year-old girl, if you are just tuning in, a 16-year-old girl was whooped by her mother on Facebook Live, and her mother purposely put it on Facebook Live as a form of discipline as well, along with whooping, punching, and slapping the girl in the face sometimes in the video. So we're just having a conversation about whether this is something that is, okay in the community, because we've all had our share of discipline growing up. So we're gonna find out, what were you all's reaction to the video when you first saw it?
Well, as I shared, when my opinion was asked for the actual article, it disturbed me. I could not watch the video throughout the entire thing. I had to stop watching, especially not just the mother beating her daughter, but seeing her hit her in her face, hard, and then also belittle her daughter, like hearing that. I couldn't watch it, so I was completely, just found it just completely repulsive, so I didn't finish watching the entire thing.
Those are pretty much my sentiments. I mean, I saw the video and I was like, wow. And then I just kept saying, again, wow, is this really what we're doing in 2016? And what are we teaching our kids by doing these types of things? Are we teaching them to accept this behavior from the men that they date, as well as this is something that should be occurring? Like, what are we really doing here? And why are we doing it live for the whole world to see? Why?
And that was one of the issues that people had, was like, you know, this could have been something that you kept in your house. You know, what was the purpose of it being live? What was the purpose of sharing it on social media? I mean, do you have any thoughts on
Well,
that?
I'm actually very glad that it went viral. I'm glad that it is out here so that we can have these conversations, because this, we know, is happening in households and people aren't talking about it. So people are, this is what girls are dealing with every day in their households, and nobody is there to say, stop, this is wrong, or slow down, let's look at it from a different perspective. So I'm glad that it's out, because now it allows us to talk about this dirty laundry that we have in our culture, in our community, where discipline is confused with abuse, where love is demonstrated by fear tactics, by this whole thing of having to suppress and oppress your child's development, versus what Yanni talks about, having a healthy and nurturing conversation and relationship where you continue to help your child grow and be able to have some self-efficacy.
So at what point in the video for you did it become abusive, if that's how you feel?
When
did she go too far?
when I first saw it, it was
I'm like
too
at the
far.
start of the camera.
When she
said,
went
turn it on and follow me.
When she went to adjust the camera,
Yeah.
that to me said there's something wrong with this picture.
Absolutely. And then, like I said, I grew up in an era where absolutely my mother did not spare the rod. And I was not a spoiled child. So in doing all of that, she whooped nothing but. Because that was our form of punishment. And then there was also punishment too as well. There were no timeouts, but there was also no hitting in the face, the arm. There was no out of anger. Everything that my mother did, it was more, we're gonna talk about it first, we're gonna talk about your actions, and we're gonna talk about the consequences for your actions. And I think the pre-conversations and then the conversations during the discipline and after the discipline is what's totally missing in a lot of households now. It's just straight to anger and straight to discipline. Now, as far as it being on social media, I honestly just believe that that's just where we are in 2016. We are, I don't even want to use the word hungry. I will say we are desperately starving for attention. And this just doesn't go with teens either. This is adults that are starving for attention as well. So, you know, if I can get 500 likes, if I can get to go viral, then that's some attention being brought to me, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. And that's what I tell my kids. It's always somebody watching you, good, bad, or ugly. There's always somebody watching your behavior. It all depends on what you're trying to gather or what type of attention you're trying to get.
But this is a bold statement, because, I mean, now you have possibly DCFS or Child Protective Services or whoever the case may be, may come into this, you know, in this picture now because she put it on social media.
I'm concerned for the mother. I definitely am concerned for her. Not just because of DCFS, but I'm concerned because she demonstrated that she obviously has some issues with stress, some coping issues, something that she needs to deal with. I'm also more concerned about her child, regardless if DCFS becomes involved or not. We see so often girls who are in school fights. We've had girls who've stabbed other girls to death. We've had girls shoot other girls. This violence and this aggression that we've seen rising with black girls, we have to understand that it's coming from someplace. Yes. And that place is coming from that whole thing of this is how you cope. You cope with conflict by anger. You cope with disagreements by altercations. You know, there's never this conversation. And then also you have to understand that as powerless as she felt in that moment, somewhere she's gonna have to release that power. Somewhere. So she can't direct it to her mother. It's gonna be a sibling. It's gonna be the girl who steps on her foot or likes her boyfriend. It's gonna be the teacher that says something to her the wrong way. It's gonna manifest itself somewhere. So what we're doing is we're just constantly feeding this or actually suppressing a need for love, a need for emotional freedom and support. And you suppress that with beatings out of anger and fear, and it doesn't get anybody anywhere. It doesn't elevate our black girl magic. It just suppresses what it is.
And it's also creating the cycle of, oh, well, this is acceptable, this is okay, and this is how you should treat your little girl when you have a little girl. And this is how you treat your friendships. Because if my mother can be angry and talk about me and talk to me any kind of way, then I can do that in my friendships. And then I can do that with my child, or I can do that with my boyfriend. And it becomes this vicious cycle where we're becoming, like I said, dysfunctional. in these relationships, and we think that it's normal, we think that it's healthy. So this young girl may equate love to, you have to hit me in order to prove to me that you love me, and if you're not hitting me, if you're not yelling at me, then I don't know that you love me. And that's not right at all. So that's what I mean by we need to get back to the basics of what is it that we're doing and how did it get there? Because it didn't just start there. It just got filmed that day.
And I mean, was the girl, in your opinion, in the wrong? You both have children. You both have 16, 17-year-old girls. The girl apparently posted a picture of herself and a boy onto her Facebook page, and that's how this whole thing started. And it was an inappropriate picture of them two, and you know, that's what started this whole thing, according to the video.
Was she wrong? Yes, she was wrong. But again, how you handled that wrongness, and then what led up to her getting that far? Because she didn't just post this picture. Like and I shouldn't say that she didn't just. 9 times out of 10, it didn't just start there. It started with this kind of picture, and then it elevated to this kind of picture, almost like a murderer. A murderer just don't flat out go out and kill. Sometimes they start with small animals, you know what I mean? And they work their way up.
Psychopath.
Yeah, it just kind of elevates. So where did we nip it, chop it off at the knees at before we got to this point?
And my perspective is, when we talk about what's right and wrong, you know, you want to guide your children so that they make decisions that are best for them, that are healthy for them, that help them express who they are. Is sex wrong? Sex, to me, is not wrong. I teach my child to love herself, understand what makes her feel good, understand her, you know, her self-awareness of what she wants out of life, and then make the decisions that support that, right? So the conversation has to start about, first of all, sex is not nasty. Or if it is, however you feel about it, what are you telling your child about sex? It's nasty, it's wrong, you know, those type of things. Or are you teaching your child that you make decisions based on who you see yourself as and who you want to be? That conversation never happened. I'm sure it has not happened prior, and it probably did. It wasn't the intention of the mother having that conversation then. She may now that people are talking about it, and she may hear different things. But I think we have to gauge and really assess what we're titling as wrong and right. Do we want our children to make this respectable decisions that, you know, that put them in a great light, that, you know, make us look good, that show we raising our kids right? Yes, everybody does. However, our children are not us, and they should be free to make the decisions and choices that support who they are. We have to give them those tools to see who they are. That is, that you are not thirsty for attention, that you do not have to use your body to be objectified, that you don't have to find pleasure in a man or a boy consistently. You know, there are other outlets that you can do. You can find your own gifts and your own talents. So we need to be teaching our girls that, and as mothers, we need to understand that as well. That mother talked a lot about how she works so hard. She's doing.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up because there's a point where she mentions that, you know, you're in bed, like, it's pretty much an embarrassment. And I know as a kid growing up too, like, my grandmother and my mom were like, you know, don't embarrass me when you go to your friend's house, or don't embarrass me when you go out the street.
That's right.
So, like, you know, is that a thing? I mean, as a mother, are you angry because you feel like they're embarrassing you in front of, you know, whoever it is that the crowd is, whether it's friends, family?
I don't think it's that you're angry. I think you always want yourself, your kids, your family members, even your friends, all the relationships that you have, you want that to be reflected in the best light. And that's not always the case with the decisions that we make in the spur of the moment with our younger folks. And we have some older people that are doing this embarrassing stuff as well. So,
reality TV.
Yes, absolutely. So, but we live in a very different time, whether we want to acknowledge that or not, and everything is instantaneous. Everything is immediate gratification, and we're not teaching us as well as our younger generation that this instant gratification has instant consequences, or 5 years from now consequences when you want a really good job, but yet this video is still out there of you doing this, and this. There's not that conversation that's being had. So we're missing some key things here. You know, you have one generation that kind of forgot about a whole generation and just kind of left them to TV and devices, and it's like, figure it out. And we're not pulling the slips on our young ladies.
And what about boys? Because we rarely talk about boys when it comes to discipline as well. I have a 15-year-old nephew. You have a 17-year-old son. How do you discipline boys when they get to this age? And how do you, if this was a boy in this situation being punched in the chest or slapped or whatever the case may be as a form of punishment, will we be looking at it the same way?
So I'm
Good
very
question.
big on the whole my brother's keeper. I think that all our children need to be kept. I think all our children, boy and girl, it doesn't matter, require the same love, require the same compassion, require the same safety, right? They should feel safe with us. So I think that I've seen it where they've done things to boys, cut off their hair into little George Jefferson haircuts to humiliate their child, punch a child in the chest or fight me like a man. All of that to me is speaking to something with the adult more than it is to the child. And I think it goes back to what Yanni says about how we're showing and illustrating what healthy relationships are, how you respond to conflict, how you respond to being challenged. So with boys, so you fight, you show how hard you are. With girls, you accept the abuse. So I think that to me is a big issue. And the embarrassment, we all want to be looked at as honorable people. We all want to be respected. Everybody does. Respect is a form of love. We want that, you know. But at the same time, I think we confuse retribution and humiliation as love. And love is free of anything that would require us to feel guilt or shame or sadness or regret. Love is saying, you made a mistake. I am graceful with you. I am going to show you grace. I'm going to give you mercy, a chance to start anew. We won't hold this against you. Here are all the ways that you can do this differently. Here are all the ways when you get that desire to be with a boy or to post yourself. Here's some other things you can do. You know, my organization, we host workshops that's called OMG, Social Media Mindless Behavior. We talk about, you know, what it is to post and use social media. Are you using it for advocacy? Are you using it for destruction, right? Are you aware of the harm? Because I don't think that mother knew the harm that she was going to do, not just to her child, but inflict on. That was a trigger probably for many people who have been abused. I'm sure that video was a trigger, right? I'm sure that it has impacted other people. Her daughter, you know, embarrassment. She said she was embarrassed, but how are you when you have seen yourself be victimized over and over and over again? This video is, it never ends, right? It's perpetual, right? And so also, are we thinking about the things that have come out of our posting? Suicide. You talk about instant gratification. That's instant. That's instant, and that is absolute. And you don't come back from death. So you don't come back from the suicide that you caused, humiliating your child, or you don't come back from the suicide that you caused bullying somebody. You don't come back from, now that you've posted, young girl, these things of yourself, a minor, and another minor. Now you are a sex offender. And that does not go away. So now you talk about jobs. You can't live in certain areas because you can't be next to kids. When you have children, you can't go to the parties because you are a sex offender. So we gotta look and help our young people see beyond just saying it's bad and you nasty. No, that's not bad and nasty. Tell her what the consequences are. Tell her what this will manifest for her. Don't just leave it at slapping her in the face and telling her she nasty.
That's even for adults too, because a lot of things I didn't know until my nephew, you know, things either that he experienced at school or that him coming home and telling, you know, us what happened at school. As far as, you know, if you put a kid on Snapchat, what that means, or like, you know, if this stuff gets out in school, what this stuff means. So I think that the larger conversation is that we don't even know, because we didn't grow up with it. I didn't grow up with Snapchat. This is all, I didn't grow up with the internet, really. I mean, the internet didn't get big for me until we were in middle school.
And as parents, literally, you have to educate yourself very quickly with what's going on with your kids. And right now, kids have everything at their disposal, period. If you give them a cell phone, they have everything at their disposal. They're so tech savvy that they know how to turn off the things that you think that you've turned on. So they have access to child pornography. They have access to this or that, all these things. And again, not saying that they're nasty things, it's just I think that we're not educating them on the consequences of their actions. They're not being educated on hygiene. They're not being educated on sexually transmitted diseases. So many things that our children are being left to their own devices to figure out.
And devices
and then literally being disciplined for just, and I'm not saying being a typical kid, but kids are curious.
Right.
So how do you combat that curiosity? You sit down and you answer questions. When my kids were younger, when they would ask me what's this or what's that, I would answer. You know, and I used to get so much flack from other parents or non-parents, which are very interesting to me. It's like, you don't have any kids at all, but you have all this advice. And they would say, well, why are you so free with your kids? Well, because I want my kids to be able to express themselves. I would let my kids tell me they're angry with me because of something that I've done. But if they did it in, like we were talking earlier, they did it in a respectful way. So it wasn't like, well, no, we're not doing the attitude. You need to articulate what you're saying in complete sentences, and then I need you to understand what are your consequences for your actions. So not only have I become parent, I'm also teacher as well.
And
so
how different is that from the way you were raised? Because traditionally in the Black community,
you do as I say, and not as I do.
Kids were seen and didn't speak, you know.
Well, that's where you either learn what you knew growing up, and you either do the complete opposite, or you create and reduplicate the cycle. And what I didn't want to do, one of the pet peeves my mom used to say is, do as I say, not as I do. And we all know that that's not how it works. Our kids do as we see them do. So, I mean, you know, they do as they see us do. So rather than do that, and when I tell my kids to do something, I wanted them to understand why. This is why. So that you can't say, well, I never knew why. Because we have so many things that our parents told us to do that we didn't really understand why. Well, no. If you have sex at an early age, okay, these are the things that can happen. Sexually transmitted diseases. Psychologically, you're not ready. Now you're just the girl or the boy that's just had sex, and now somebody else is going to be at. So we're not talking about those things. We're not talking about the consequences. And I think, to me, that's when we do the kids a disservice, because now we're just kind of, like I said, leaving them out there to figure it out, and that's not their jobs. Their jobs is to be able to come to us, like she said, in a safe space, and help them to navigate through this thing called life, because they don't know.
And it's not, it's not, like people think, oh, you let your kids do whatever they want to do. They can be, no, yeah. You're a parent, and at the end of the day, there is a safe space. We have this conversation, but I am the executive. At the end of the day, I make the decisions. I've heard you, I've listened to you, I consider you, and I make you know that your voice is being listened to. But parents still have to set the boundaries, and that's the thing. Like, they are left with their own devices, and that's literally and figuratively, where they're their own devices in terms of what they think they know, and kids think they know everything. Especially at 16 to 17, you can't tell them anything. And then also with technology, but that's on us to not allow our kids. It's almost like when you see ESL, you know, people, English as second learners. Like, you can't, second language, you can't think that because your child knows English in America and you don't, that your child is going to run you and tell you how to navigate America. No, you will help me translate, but you will never ever be my parent. You may be digitally more inclined than I am, but you are only the translator. You are not going to tell me that what you can do. So it's my job to learn everything you have. Before I put it in your hands, I need to master it. Then I give you your phone, and when I give you your phone, then you got parental controls and all the stuff that I need to do to make sure that I keep you safe and in boundaries. Just like when we were, just like growing up, you know, when you're in the inner city versus your parents living in the South. There's more range and more freedom, more neighbors. Well, your parents have to know who the neighbors are before you go to their house. The first name and last name and the phone number.
I couldn't go over someone's house if they had an older brother, like things like that.
And yes, you're gonna get the flack to say you're not a cool parent and this person's parent is letting them do. Yes, you're gonna get all that. And everybody's got the PlayStation 5 and they're only 3 years old. Yes, you're gonna get that. But you have to stand firm in what that is. And I am so glad, y'all, that, you know, it takes examples, and we need to see more. So I'm doing a plug real fast. In October, my organization is hosting Raising Black Girl Magic, and it's about this very same thing. How do we raise our girls, but also understand and find the tools and the examples for ourselves? So Deneen Milner of MyBrownBaby.com and her daughter Asha Bandale, who is a phenomenal author, former Essence editor. She also just wrote a piece on this very thing, motherhood, for Ebony magazine. So these women will be a part of this conversation, and I'm so ready for us to move beyond the block of old ways and traditions and holding on to things that don't serve us well, as Johnny said, with healthy relationships. Our daughters, and our sons too, but our daughters are really looking at us as models. And everything we do in terms of if we're lifting them or if we're
Tearing them
down, they get it from us.
And then I'll also add too, you know, that stuff, as I talk directly to the camera,
Yes.
that stuff that we think is cute.
What stuff?
You know, this cute little stuff of twerking at 3,
Yes.
or, you know, acting or grown folk behavior, things like, well, that's my man when he's 4 and he's the man of the house and things like that. Those are things that you're subliminally planting inside of your kids' heads. And while it might be, you might think, because I don't think it's cute, you might think it's cute, you know, when we're here, but that grows up into them being big kids doing that. And that's when it's like, okay, but you said it was cute then, so now they're teenagers, it's still cute? You know, the kid slapping the parent in the face at 3, 4, and 5, is that cute?
Right.
How is that going into adulthood? So again, it's like setting the boundaries, and that's where a lot of this is being dropped in terms of the ball goes, because the boundaries aren't being set. The foundation isn't being set when they're younger, so they grow up and then it's like, oh wow, now I've created a monster. Yes, you created a monster.
Yes, you did. So how do we get, I mean, do you both think that we should just get rid of whoopings and things like that completely?
I didn't say that.
I didn't say
that.
We had Adrian.
See, whoopings and beatings are 2 different things.
Okay, because we had Adrian Peterson in the news like a few years ago about, you know, hitting his son with a switch or whatever, and he was demonized for that. And I think the conversation about whoopings then, black people were just demonized for this practice that we have, and some people translated into the whole hazing thing with Greek, you know, organizations and everything. So how do you justify whoopings?
It's definitely not
today?
hazing in Greek. That is completely not related.
Okay.
I don't say that.
I'll add my 2 cents in, because I did get whoopings and I'm light skinned. So, you know,
Red bone.
yes, so you know, but I lived. I turned out okay. I went on to go to college. I'm not saying that I didn't disappoint my mother. Absolutely, you're going to disappoint your parents, because you're not going to do what they would have you to do when they would have you to do it. But I survived. I wasn't, what's the word? My mind wasn't warped because I got a spanking occasionally. Was I getting whoopings all the time? No. But there were consequences for your actions. And I think our younger generation are not understanding the consequences, which is why they think everything is acceptable, everything is okay, everything is cool to do. That I'm looking at it from a different perspective than, of course, how you're viewing it with, when we talked earlier about not necessarily spankings, whoopings, and where the parent comes from. But I think a lot of it says, what did we do and how did we drop the ball too? Because somewhere we dropped the ball, and I don't think we want to take ownership of that. No, we did. We dropped the ball. We literally gave our kids a cell phone, an iPhone, computer game, TV, videos, whatever. Have at it.
And on the flip side of that too, we dropped the ball, and even, let's just take the electronics out the picture, right? We dropped the ball when we go to work and work 12-hour days. Not saying we don't have, not saying we have choices. This is why the conversation is deeper. So we're not talking to our children. We're out working, or even out with our girlfriends, or we're trying to find a man. Whatever it is we're doing, sometimes we're neglecting. And even times when we're in the house, you know, we are not having the conversations.
Absolutely.
We don't want to talk about sex. That's a conversation we don't have.
But our parents, some of our parents didn't talk.
That's what I'm saying. You know, it's a cycle. It just continues. So sometimes it's just the whole point of not being present. Not being present. I personally do not believe that discipline and whoopings are the same thing. It is a form of discipline, and there are a range of other options. And I think that you should definitely explore all those options before you wind up at the whooping part. Now, are we perfect?
No.
I'm not.
No.
I have definitely put my hands on my children before, and I cannot say that I won't do it again. However, what I will say is that I try my best to be my best self, to be present with what I'm feeling, so I don't project it onto my children, my fears of what they're doing in the moment and how that will affect them or what I want for them. I have to check myself. I have to check myself to say, hey, this how else can she learn her lesson, right? How else will the universe teach her lesson? Because I'm just a conduit here, just like she is, and he is, to learn lessons that the universe is sending to me, and they are too on their path. We have to be open and okay with saying that, and not many of us are open and okay with saying that.
And Ta-Nehisi Coates mentions that in his book, about, you know, growing up, his father put his hands on him, and as a kid you don't understand it, but when you get older you realize that his father put his hands on him because the world will put their hands on him. You know,
and it won't be with love.
Yeah.
It will not be with love. And I tell my kids, and I have girls, I'm whooping you or I'm disciplining you with love. The streets, the world, your people that you think are your friends that are going to misuse you, they're not going to do that.
And leave you dead.
And I still say every kid needs to know what a baseboard is and how to clean it. Let me just go back there with discipline. And I know that sounds crazy, but if you think about it now, kids don't know that the brown stuff in the toilet it's not supposed to be there because they don't know how to clean because they weren't disciplined enough to. And when I say discipline, I'm not speaking of spanking or punishments. I'm speaking of basic things that kids should know that's going to help them be functional, productive kids and adults in society. And they don't know these things because we, like I said, we don't allow them to do it. We don't take the time to cultivate that. Sunday dinners. There was a reason why Sunday dinners was important. It was a recap of the week. It was us sitting down when we necessarily didn't have a Monday through Friday. But again, like she said, it's a much deeper conversation because who has time for Sunday dinners now when minimum wage is only $10 and everything is steady going up, but the wages aren't? And you know, it goes down to, let's just take it this step further. There used to be the laundry detergent, 250 fluid ounces. Okay, it was this price. Well, no, they dropped that a whole 100 ounces and it's still the same price. So it goes as far as stuff like that. You know, women are angry because they're angry. Women are angry because they're single parents. Women are angry because, I mean, there's so many different things. Not saying that that's a justification or an excuse, but let's talk about the realities of what's happening as opposed to sweeping it up under the rug saying, oh, that's just this or that's just that. No, it's not. There's a reason. And if we can get to the reason and come back to reason, then we can do better.
And then underlying that anger, I like to say that it's more of a lack of love, right? That's what it is. It's not because you're angry, it's because you're not tapping into the need that you have for love, for understanding, for somebody understanding that you have to work all these hours and you don't get to spend time with your children.
Absolutely.
You want to spend time with, even in that moment, I'm sure that woman,
even when they get on
I'm sure that woman was thinking to herself, she didn't articulate it. I'm sure something inside her was saying, where did I go wrong? How come, why wasn't I here? Where was I at? How did my child do? That's what she was feeling. And we saw her saying, why did you do this when I work all this? She was talking to herself too. If we could get to the bottom of what we all need and desire, love and understanding and acceptance.
But how do we articulate that as Black women who, you know, we're beaten in the world, in the scheme of the world every day, and I feel like we have a guard up in order to protect ourselves and our families. So this communication and this articulation of our feelings is not here.
Come to Raising Black Girls.
She has workshops. And then I also have workshops too, called Her Story. It's a vision board workshop, and I have a mom and daughter vision board workshop because how you see your daughter is very different than how she sees herself. And then I also have workshops too just for women so that we can discuss these things candidly and openly and then try and get to some type of resolve, because what most of us feel like as a young person or as an adult, I'm the only one going through this, when really you're not. The person right next to you. You know, it used to be 6 degrees of separation. Now that there's Facebook, we're 3 degrees. There's, you know what I mean? So there's all these different outlets out here. BlackDoctor.org just, you know, is putting it out here right now. So with all these different outlets that we have, I think we just need to figure out a way to get people in on the outlet.
And there are things that are unique to us as a Black woman experience. Right, and especially we mix in the whole thing of having children. So MyBrownBaby.com with Denise Milner is one of those places where you can feel like you have a community of other mothers who are going through the same thing. And it doesn't necessarily have to just be discipline. It's all those things before you get to the discipline, right? Like, I bought this device, or I want to buy a device for my child. What kind should I get? You know, these kind of conversations that help us feel some sense of community. Like, you can say, hey girl, high five. Yes, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? Versus this, now I got to explain why this is going on in my household
Yes,
to the
and
world.
they just
But
want to be nosy,
Yeah.
and they don't really want to help me. They just want to be all in my business because that's
Yes, we all
that's
heard
how we
that
are.
line.
Absolutely. So,
Yes.
I really just think it starts with a genuinely caring
Yes,
conversation
yes.
because you do have those that do just want to be all up in your business
And judge.
and judge
shame
and
wag their
absolutely and
finger
point
at you.
fingers when we're all suffering because of it. You know, my tagline has always been, it's going to take all of us coming together collectively to restore balance
Right.
to this thing called love. And
Yes.
in sharing my story is going to help her story. And in sharing her story, she's going to help the woman 2 doors down.
Because we don't even have the community anymore.
No,
when I was a
we
kid,
don't.
it was like, that's Miss Irene's granddaughter.
Yes.
If I catch her over there doing something,
Absolutely.
they gonna yoink me up and
Absolutely.
bring me back to the house. You know?
That's
So
what
it's
I
just
call
like,
it the pull of the slip. You know, we don't tell our girls anymore your slip is hanging because one, they don't
tell
have
them
no
why
slip,
they need to have on
or
slips.
why they need to have on slips. Absolutely.
It's deep.
Yeah, it's so much deeper than just this video. If truth were really to be told, it's so much deeper than this video. You know, our black girls aren't told how beautiful they are day in and day out in the gate. You know, we have to deal with things that other people don't have to deal with. So like we're all saying, it's so much further and deeper than the tip of this particular iceberg. But it starts with us having this amazing conversation that we're having now.
So what are top 5 tips that you have for the audience when it comes to disciplining your teenagers? I mean, this girl is 16, and I feel like I can't remember the last time I got a whipping, but I wasn't getting them as a teenager.
Well, funny you should say that. Neither was I. And my daughters, the 17-year-old, we haven't had an issue where it came like ready to whoop her for a couple years now, but that's because I set the foundation early of let's talk about this, and then okay, well now you can't go do A, B, C, and D. It's almost like sometimes you have to take away things that matter to them or things that are important to them. You don't always have to spank them or discipline them. So then you ask them, you get them involved. Well, how do you think we should handle this discipline problem that you should, pay for this particular action instead of just whooping them or going upside their head or hitting them? So think outside the box in terms of how you want to discipline your child and then get them involved in it. Okay, you did blah, blah, blah. That was a pretty serious crime. Well, how do you think what that crime should fit whatever it is that you did? Oh, you wanted to go to prom this weekend. Let's not do that.
Not prom.
I'm not gonna spend all this money on a prom for you when you did that thing. You know what I mean? Because we're still rewarding, unfortunately, now more than ever, we're still rewarding.
Because a phone is still a reward
Absolutely.
at the end of the day.
And they're not thinking about that. It's like, because see, this is how I think.
But
That phone is
phones-
$700.
Yeah, but in 2016, a phone is a necessity.
No,
You
it's
know,
not.
to some.
No, it's
To
not.
some it is. To some it is. And it is a necessity, but you can have a flip phone. See, if you want to embarrass your child, get them a flip phone where they have to press 7 3 times to get to the letter T. So, I'm old school all day long. My mother used to come up to my school in rollers and a robe and cut up. And I cut up where you cut up.
But
So-
you can't even do that anymore.
Oh, no.
Can you still?
You can.
Because I went to Catholic school, so
Yeah.
folks rolled
And
up all
so
the time.
that's another thing. Where are you placing your child? You should be putting your child in a place that has the same values as you. So if your thing is to roll up on your child, then that environment should be conducive to that. So teachers and administration should know that's Johnny, that's so-and-so
Absolutely.
mama. She gonna
Yes.
come here, act fool, give her the room in there, and we don't see nothing, let her do what she do.
Absolutely.
That's you have to be with the values that you instill in your child. Everybody else is on board. It's a village.
And it's a conversation. I cannot stress you. At my daughter's school, they know I'm 2.5 minutes away. On any given day, I am 2.5 minutes away from the school. And on any given day, my kids and my kids' friends, boys and girls, know that they can call Mama Brown for anything. So again, what foundation are you setting? Now, again, am I a perfect parent? Absolutely not. Do I need to be at the zoo right now with my kids? Probably so. But my girls know that they can come and say, Mama, quality time, please. Okay, cool. What do you want to do? But that's because I set that foundation early where they can come to me and say that.
So my 5 would be first and foremost.
Oh, was I supposed to give you 5? I'm sorry. My bad.
And I'm just a Virgo, so I gotta.
You pay attention.
I gotta keep myself on track. So my first one is know your child. Know your child's temperament. Know your child's what motivates your child. What helps your child to get back in bounds. You have to know who your child is, and that doesn't start at 16.
Absolutely.
That starts from the womb, you know. Second thing is be present. Show that you're present. Show your child that you are in tune with what's going on with their life, because they're not going to talk.
You don't mean that presence, right?
No,
okay,
absolutely
I know.
not. No money needs to be spent
okay.
for presence. You know, let them know that you're available and there, because they're not talking, especially as they get older.
Yeah,
you might get 3 syllables max in an hour from them. Yeah, no, I don't know. That's
right.
That's
exactly.
the language of teens, right?
They talk text.
So you need to be paying attention to see what's going on. And also, so the third thing is having a village. My sisters are my grace. They are I love it, because my daughter is really close to my baby sister. She is there every time she can. School is out. I'm going to TT Kim's house. I love that. I just make sure that my sister and I are in conversation so that we understand, like, this is what is expected, this is what she's done, this is the correction that I'm giving, you need to step in too. Like, we have to work together, right? It has to be, you know, it may not be any more neighbors on the block, but you have to assert yourself as that neighbor so that people understand that you are, you know, you, wherever it is, if you at the school, Miss Mama Brown, right? They know me, Miss Sewell, everybody is gonna say, I can't do that in front of Miss Sewell. She is watching. And my daughter sees me doing it too, right? And my kids always say, Mom, my kids are always, Mom, would you stop? Would you?
Yes,
you don't gotta get out the car. Like,
stop
if
talking
I see
to kids like that.
Kids that I don't know, I will stop my car in a minute. Like, stop. What are y'all doing? Like,
I just stop all that cussing.
Yes. My kids are like this. Oh my God.
Yes.
But I do it because when they see that I'm responsible for somebody else's child who are not my children, then they will then too understand that that everybody is their brother and sister, and they have to look out for everybody. And it keeps them kind of from putting their friends in positions that could get themselves in trouble, right? So they're keeping everybody safe. And then I would say, lastly, I don't know if that was 4 or 5, I'm off. But lastly, be true to who you are. Be authentic with what your issues are. Oh, that was 4. And 5, I got 5. Let go. Be willing to let go of the way you were raised. Let that go, because our parents were doing the best that they could do as well.
As far as they knew.
As far as they knew. But that's not for you. That doesn't necessarily have to be for you. I thank God that my mother, and I did get whoopings out of my sisters, my 4 sisters. I was the one. My other sisters probably got 3 whoopings in their entire life. I was the one that got the whoopings. My mother was not a whooper. She talked, and that could drive me crazy. I would feel so bad after, and it wasn't a you stupid kind of talk. It was, why? Like, make me think. And I feel so bad, like I didn't live up to what I knew was right. You know what I mean? But thank God for that. My mother had the resolve to do that, because all around us in our family, it was that video. That video was norm. And that video, that type of behavior was pressured on my mother to do to me. You need to whoop her, you need to do this, you need to do that. My mother did the best she could. Do I give my children whoopings like that? No. They can count on their hands. Probably less than 3 fingers the times that they had to have physical me hitting them. But I will say there are not times when I think like, I should have whooped them butts a long time. Like, I think that because maybe
as soon as they turn teenagers, 13.
Maybe I should have done. You know, we don't have the answers. All you can do is watch your child, be true to who you are, and make sure what you're doing is not out of your own self-loathing, your own self-yearning. Make sure you're
for your own attention.
Yes.
Well, ladies, thank you so much for this conversation. I really appreciate it, and I hope that our audience was able to get some good things out of it. And you know, if you have any questions or if you want to have a conversation about it with us as well, feel free to hit us up on blackdoctor.org's Facebook page. So, thank you.
Bye.
What's up, guys? I'm Jackie, and you are watching blackdoctor.org, where you have access to health information for your everyday life. And today I'm going to show you guys how to make your own do-it-yourself body scrub using green tea, a tablespoon of green tea, 2 tablespoons of honey, a cup of sugar, or you can use brown sugar, and a half a cup of olive oil. Now let's get started. So What you're gonna do is you're just gonna throw all of your measurements in a bowl. And if you want to double this recipe, you can. The measurement should be in the description below. And the benefits of this body scrub is that it really helps with blemishes and scars. It also helps achieving a younger and healthier looking skin and everything, so your skin will be looking all glowy and nice. It has antioxidant properties that helps against damaged skin, and it helps scrubs off skin cells, pollutants, and it also cleanses your pores. I will recommend using this body scrub in the shower just because it's easier that way, because it can get a little messy, but when you're done using this body scrub, I promise you'll feel an immediate difference and your skin will feel really silky and nice and really pretty. Once again, if you're just tuning in, the ingredients I'm using is a cup of sugar, or you can use brown sugar, a half cup of olive oil, 2 tablespoons of honey, and 1 tablespoon of green tea, dry green tea leaves. And this is the consistency of the body scrub. If you want more DIY videos like this, make sure you follow blackdoctor.org on Snapchat. The description will be below. And thank you for watching, and tune in next time. Bye guys.
Hey guys, this is Leah here from Blood and Sweat Athletics. Today, I'm going to give you a Michelle Obama inspired arm workout that you can do at home. Now, we love our First Lady's arms. They're nice, shapely, and the most important thing for getting that nice, shapely look in your arms is putting on some muscle. And in order to do that, you need some resistance underneath you. So it's a little bit hard to get resistance when you don't have weights, if you're not at the gym, but you can still get the job done with this band here. This is reasonably priced. You can get this at, I think they sell it at Walmart even. I'm going to give you sort of a back and tricep workout. Now you're going to take each exercise and do the exercise 12 times, take a break for 45 seconds, and then do that again. So 3 sets each, 12 reps, 45-second rest in between each one. Let's get started. First thing we're going to do is a basic bicep curl. You're going to take your band, step on it in the middle, and spread your legs apart, maybe about hip distance apart. You can go a little closer if you need to. And you see you have some resistance here. Pretty straightforward. You're just going to curl up, hold, and then nice and slow back down. All the way down, curl up, hold, and nice and slow back down. And I'm going to show you this from the side. It's important to not have your elbows back here because you're not really doing much right there. You want to have them in front. So you want your arm straight by your side. You're going to curl all the way up and then come back down. All the way up, come back down. That's our first basic bicep. 3 sets, 12 reps each. Then go straight into an outer curl. So what you're going to do is you're going to have your hands down by your side and turn your forearms out like this. And you're just going to curl up, hold, and nice and slow down. Again, curl up, hold, nice and slow, right back down. Just like that. Now the last thing we're going to do for our biceps is called a concentration curl. So to do this, you're going to let go of one end of the band and step on it, and make sure you get enough resistance. So you might have to step more towards the middle or more towards the end of the band to get enough resistance. Squat down, elbow in between, right on the side of your knee here, and you're going to curl up. Now watch what happens when I come down. See how I lose that resistance there? We don't want that, so I need to step a little bit closer because you want resistance all the way down. And we're going to curl up and come back down. Same thing here. We're going to do 12 reps on each arm. Keep it nice and controlled. Squeezing your bicep the whole time. And there you have it. There's your bicep portion of it. Now we're going to move on to the triceps. So first thing we're going to do is a tricep pull-up, or like this. And you're going to take your band, grab it behind you. I'll turn around here so you can see. And then you just pull straight up. Like that. Hold and back down. I need to get a little bit more resistance. You want to work hard here. Pull straight up and back down. Nice and controlled. You don't want to crash down like that. Keep it nice and controlled so you're working the whole time. There we go. And then next we're going to do for our triceps, we're going to do a tricep kickback. So to do a tricep kickback, and I'll do this one from the side, band on the floor. You're going to step on the band here, again like we did with our bicep curl. Keep your legs together. Bend over at the waist, slightly bend your knees. Palms facing up, and then you're going to go back. And watch what happens when I try to go back. My elbow doesn't extend all the way. That's no good. That means that this is too tough for me. So what you want to do, you can drop one side of it to give me a little bit more. So you can get a full extension as you go back. That, way better. Come back. There we go. To make this a little bit tougher, you're starting with your palm facing up. You go back, come back, twist the palm to face down, and then go back again. That one's a little bit harder. Give you a little bit extra to do. Turn, come back, turn, and back again. Now the last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put the band away because we're sort of limited with tricep exercises with the band, but I want to give you 3 of each. I'm going to do tricep dips, and for this one you need a chair. Hopefully you have a chair. You're going to come to the edge, like you're about to sit down, scoot all the way off the chair, hands on both sides, and then you can either straighten your legs, that's a little bit harder, or you can bend them, and then you just come all the way down and back up. Nice and controlled, just like that. Now as you get tired, you'll notice you might start to shrug. Try to avoid shrugging. Put it all in the back of your arms, your triceps. Squeeze your triceps to come up. Squeeze them to come down, and then squeeze them to come back up. And there you have it. Your basic, at-home, Michelle Obama-inspired arm workout. That's a wrap.
Hi everyone, this is Leah from Blood and Sweat Athletics, taking over Black Doctor's Facebook page to give you a quick workout you can do right in the comfort of your own home. So summer is finally here, and summer is a season of socializing. So we are busy, out and about, coming out of hibernation to visit festivals and family and friends, barbecues, backyard parties, all kinds of things. And you don't always have time to make it to the gym. But that shouldn't stop you from reaching your fitness goals. So I'm going to give you a quick core workout you can do right at home. And when I say core, I'm talking about this whole band right here. We're going to pick one exercise for each muscle, the front abs, the side obliques, and your back. Let's get started. We're going to start out with the crunch. You're going to want to lie on your mat or the floor. Make sure the floor is clean. Feet are going to be hip distance apart. Lie flat on your back. Hands on the side of your head. You want to avoid putting them on the back of your head because that can put strain on your neck. Chest is up,
chin is up, and you're gonna crunch your abs just like that to the ceiling. A few things to keep in mind when you're doing the crunch. Make sure that your chest is up. So you don't want to have your chin down this way. Imagine you have an apple stuck in between your chin and your chest. And also, again, with the hands on the side so that you're not putting any strain on your neck. Next thing we're going to do are Russian twists. The Russian twists work your side abs. So to do the Russian twist, legs are hip distance apart. You're going to lean back far enough to feel your abs activate. When you feel that pressure, like that you're crunching, then you know that's when you're low enough. Hands at a fist, twist, and touch the ground, just like that. Now, a few things to keep in mind when doing the Russian twist. Make sure, again, you're not rounding your back, whereas the crunch we did kind of round. Here, you want to keep your chest up. And make sure when you twist, you're coming all the way and touching the ground each and every time. Simple, right? So the next thing we're going to do are Superman. Now we like to work the middle abs, and we like to work the side abs, because those are the glamour muscles, what we see on the beach. But you also need a strong back also in order to have a strong core. So to do Superman, you're going to lie on your stomach, hands and feet out, make a straight line. Then you're going to squeeze your lower back and your glutes and come up, hold, slowly lower back down. Now a few things to keep in mind when doing Superman. Make sure your arms are straight, legs are straight. Squeeze your lower back. You should feel this in your lower back and your glutes. And then slowly lower back down. We don't want to crash while we're down there. And that will give you a strong lower back. That's it. 3 simple moves. You can do 4 sets, each 12 reps. Rest for 45 seconds in between each rep. And you have a 15-minute full core workout. One and done.
BlackDoctor.org. It is Sandria here. I am on location in Chicago with the queen at Follow the Leader, Lita Lewis, who was here in Chicago leading a very intense body blast boot camp. I'm still catching my breath, so forgive me if I look winded, if I look tired. She worked us.
Sweaty and all.
Sweaty and all. But thank you so much for just being here, blessing us. For those who are not familiar, tell us a little bit about yourself. What is Body Blast?
Yeah, so my name is Lita Lewis. I spend the summers running around the country leading my Body Blast boot camp, which we just experienced just now. I lead it, but yet I'm a big soaking mess as well. So it's very high intensity, high energy, 1 hour boot camp. That's all body weighted stuff. We don't pick up a weight. I like to think of this as running camp like real athletes. This is a combination of running basketball suicide or more like a mini NFL combine. But it's really important for me to really teach our people to really move like real athletes and not necessarily have to be in the weight room lifting weights all the time, but really move their bodies for functioning.
And something that you mentioned that was so key, you mentioned 3 years ago, you could not even do 5 push-ups. Now she had us out here in the sun, we're doing push-ups, planks, all of that. 3 years ago you could not. So what was your journey?
Yeah, like I always tell a lot of people that actually kind of beginners in the fitness game that come with this mentality that they can't do it. It's just too difficult before they even try. So my whole thing is my own personal journey. When I first started trying to increase my own strength, I would just try. There was things I couldn't do, like a pull-up, for instance. I could barely do one full one with good form. A push-up, I couldn't do 5 without wanting to stop. But I just tried. And in time, if you do anything consistently, you'll find that your body will cooperate and you will gain strength throughout time. So, that's just really my philosophy, is that everybody can It's just either choosing to wanting to do so or not. So the attempt itself is the feat, right?
Yes.
And if you can surprise yourself by trying and actually succeeding, whether or not it's one rep, whether or not it's like running for 5 minutes non-stop, it's always, everybody has a starting period, and from there it only gets better and stronger.
Now, I love your shirt, and
Yeah.
hopefully you can read it from here. Thick thighs save lives.
Right.
So can you just talk a little bit about that
Yeah.
and your personal transformation and relationship?
Of course. So the premise behind this message is that several years ago I hated my thighs. Like I hated my legs. To me they were always just way too big, too chunky, too... I was always athletic because I always played sports. Like, I came from a track and field and football background. But for whatever reason, I wasn't ever fitting in skinny jeans, right? Or whatever latest fashions they were, I just felt like I was odd shaped. And then finally, something happened in my life. I actually went through this personal, transformation. I like to call it where I kind of went through a spike in personal development. And I not only started to heal my inner self, so mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, but I started also work on my physical. And part of that process was really just learn to love everything that I hated about myself. And I started with my thighs. And the magic behind that is once I started to learn to really love my thighs and just love my body, I noticed that people started to love them too.
Yeah.
And so I found there was a lot of power in that. So these days my message to a lot of women is really just to have them understand whatever they dislike about themselves or their insecurities about themselves. No, you're not alone. All women have an insecurity. I have my own insecurities. But when I started learning just to appreciate the body that God has given me and just be appreciative that I can sprint the way I want to, that I can lift weights that I want to, that I can hike and climb and do all the things that I love to do, I started appreciating this strength. And from that, I just came up, I started to say, thick thighs save lives, but essentially helped me save my life by loving myself. And I put it on a tank, and now it's kind of modeled for everybody.
And especially that's a message for Black women that we need to hear.
Absolutely.
We're always criticized for our natural shape.
Absolutely.
So thank you for putting that out there.
Of course.
And so you're going to show us just a few key moves if we're trying to get those toned, firm, strong thighs so we can go save some lives.
Exactly.
So
let me take you back to the ending of the Body Blast Bootcamp. I always finish up what I call a lower body blast. And this is something that anybody can do literally during a commercial break, right?
Now you heard us say anybody.
Anybody. We don't pick up a weight. We're not deadlifting. We're not doing anything that looks like a CrossFit movement. This is very simple. 5 different moves, all right? We'll give you 4. We'll give you 4 for the purpose of this video. The first one is a nice, easy body squat, right? So we're literally coming down nice and deep. I tend to like to break the 90-degree angle. So I come down, and what I do is I squeeze my glutes up top, nice and easy. Chest up, back straight, squeeze. That's one. We did this in the end of the boot camp. The second is a body squat. So you're just coming down and literally just jumping a few inches off the ground. Again, sitting back, a chest up and back straight. And that's another. Number 3 would be a pulse, right? So we're just pulsing right in the center here, just up and down, right? A nice little pulse. And the 4th and final, we're gonna call this a hold, and that's pretty simple. It's like we're sitting on a chair. And usually we have to pray about this one. This one will start to burn. But if you do a sequence of maybe even 5 reps at each and then end with a hold for 30 seconds, I promise you're gonna feel some pain in the lower half, and it's gonna help tighten your lower half and build strength in your thighs. And no one's mad about that.
4 moves, 5 reps, quick, in between commercials. What's your favorite signature move? Or what's your signature?
I think I really started to love barbell squats. It was kind of my thing to increase. When I first started, I could barely do a barbell squat with 25 pounds on each side. That was a struggle for me. I mean, these days, my very heaviest, I've done 315. So I get a real buzz out of knowing that I can drop it low and bring it right back to the top.
Drop it low, right.
Yeah, so strengthen my lower half is really important. So I would say a good barbell squat is my signature move, as well as a deadlift. Yeah, because you can't work these quads so much if you're not focusing on the hamstring.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So where can we find you? Where can we follow the leader?
Yeah, well, I'm on Facebook also. I know they're streaming live from Facebook. My Facebook is obviously facebook.com/followthelita, and that's Lita. And then website is my name, litalewis.com. I'm on all social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, as Follow the Lita. And on YouTube also as Follow the Lita TV.
And where's your next boot camp city?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm still playing the next moves, but we're gonna be hitting Baltimore, DC, and Atlanta, and Toronto next.
Oh, all right, you hear that?
Yeah.
So look out for her. Go to the website, follow her on Instagram, check back to blackdoctor.org. I'm about to go get water and food and my breath. So we will see you next time. Bye.
Thank you.